Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon to those who are joining us from Europe and other parts of the world. We're really pleased to have everyone join in today for a Coach's Corner Lunch and Learn presentation. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about an alternative HTML editor. I know many of you have responded both to our surveys and over the past little while have indicated a need for, right? Let me just make sure my screen is up. Here we go. So I know many of you have indicated a need and an interest in having an easier, more effective way to build your HTML templates. And so we, over the last year or so, have been evaluating and working with a product called BeFree.io. It's a web-based HTML editing tool. It does an excellent job of building mobile optimized HTML templates. It also does a very nice job of making sure these emails render well in different email clients, various versions of Outlook, Gmail, some of the other online email clients. And so we've introduced some of our clients along the way to the tool. I know those who have adopted it are very happy working with it and have had very good results with it. So we thought we would show this to you today as an alternative to consider using. Our plan is to embed this tool over the next little while into IntelliClick itself. So we are likely going to bring this tool in as becoming our new HTML editor over time, but it is something you can start using sooner if you wish to, until we actually embed the tool. So our presentation today is going to do a few things. I'm going to very briefly just cover some things you should be aware of in terms of considerations on mobile optimized email, little tidbits, facts, and things that you should be aware of. I'll then do a little demonstration of BeFree.io and show it to you using the Pro account that we ourselves use and some of the ease and benefits of how it works. I'll also show you, using the latest version of IntelliClick, how easy it is to take the template you create and very quickly, using express tracking, apply the code to the HTML. This, of course, applies to any files you generate from anywhere, but the reason it's important that we show you how to do it with a file that is mobile optimized is that if you copy and paste HTML into Goldmine and then use it, it will work just fine, but unfortunately for some reason Goldmine strips out mobile optimization in the way it renders the HTML. So you really actually want your templates to stay as a file and never be moved into Goldmine if you want to retain mobile optimization. So we're going to show you how easy it is to just generate a file and use it using IntelliClick and coding it using the latest wizard. Finally, we'll leave some time for some Q&A today and answer any questions that you might have along the way. Probably we'll save those questions till our Q&A session toward the end of our presentation. So I'm going to start first with just some little tidbit facts about mobile optimized email and some things you need to consider. First of all, the rate at which people are now opening emails on mobile devices has grown substantially, and just in the last 5 years that it's grown 30%, so that currently the statistics show that approximately 50+% of all emails first viewed are on a mobile device. So most often you're sending your campaigns and they're probably being seen on somebody's cell phone or possibly tablet. But the key is that depending on whether you have it mobile optimized or not will really impact their experience in how they view and see the email, both the initial impact it has and the ease of being able to read it and ideally respond to it. So very interesting tidbit fact. This statistic is coming from a company called Campaign Monitor, and it's showing what that growth has been over the years. So quite a major change and shift in how people are looking at their emails. Clearly, if you do want to have good success today with mobile received mail, you want to try to have templates that are built to be optimized for the purpose of being seen on mobile. And clearly that's the reason for our presentation today. Interesting fact too is when it comes to subject lines, Although you can use very long subject lines, and email clients that are being looked at through a desktop, Microsoft Outlook or Gmail or anything that's being viewed on a desktop will show as much as 80 characters of a subject line. But that subject line will actually be only viewable for about the first 30 characters when viewed on mobile device, especially on cell phones themselves. So keep that in mind when you're setting up your subject lines, that shorter and sweeter, shorter is sweeter in many cases, but if you're going to go with a long subject line, what you say in that first 30 characters is very important in terms of how much engagement you'll get, because that's all they're seeing if they get your email on a mobile device. Now, some other things to keep in mind are that when you're creating your email, there's something that shows in a mobile devices called the pre-header text. And basically what that is it is short summary of what follows the subject line. So when you use any type of, let's say, a heading of some sort, or that initial verbiage right under the very start of your email, that's what's going to also show in the pre-header text that's usually displayed by various mobile devices. And that's going to at least entice people, hopefully, as to whether they have an interest to actually open and read the message. So just keep that in mind as you're creating your messages, is to keep in mind what that very initial header text is saying and looks like. Another thing we've told many of you over time as we do training, many of you have worked with Pam here in our training area and have learned that the from address is extremely important in terms of how well you actually are opened or received, and even getting through spam filters for that matter, so that being a known sender and using names that are known to your audience are going to make a huge difference. So the ones you probably want to steer clear from are things like info at, sales at, marketing at. A lot of those will not only not be well received, they often are filtered out by spam filters, corporate filters, things like that, but they're probably not going to give you your best open rates. And so really it's interesting that the statistics on what drives people's initial decision to look at messaging is very heavily focused on who it's coming from and that from name. Consistency is also good. The more you're using the same names all the time, the more you become recognized, and over time hopefully you get whitelisted by your recipients and start to get a better delivery to them. One other little consideration to keep in mind, again related to mobile optimization, is how you balance the amount of text and images, and sort of how those images render themselves when seen on mobile. Now you're going to see when I show you Be Free, it does a very nice job of adjusting images so that when they do display on mobile, they're almost resized to work well and look right on the mobile device. So typically there's a very short time span you have to really capture attention and get people's interest. And so imagery is a very important part of it and a good way to get that initial attention. But if it's not rendered right and doesn't look right, it could more have a negative than positive effect in how your recipients work with the email or perceive it when they receive it in their inbox. So just a couple of very important little considerations to think about as you're designing and developing your emails, particularly for mobile optimization. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move over and talk a little bit about Be Free and also how IntelliClick, especially our very latest release, hopefully many of you have seen and have been prompted as you access IntelliClick. It's prompting you for our latest version, 9.7.0. There's many little things we've incorporated in it, but probably the most important one is the ability to easily use either a file, an HTML file for express tracking, or you can continue to copy, paste, and apply open tracking to your HTML code that can then be migrated into Goldmine for sending. So we're not taking that away. That still continues to be an option. to take your HTML copy-paste from the editor that you generate it from, but we're also going to show you now a nice way to take a file that's generated from these editors and quickly code them with express tracking, and making sure that you're never really touching the code in a way that might alter the web optimization, or I should say the mobile optimization aspects to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open our wizard, and in our latest version we've also, for those of you who do decide that you want to work with the BeFree editor, we've given you a little shortcut under HTML templates. So if you do have an account with the BeFree folks, you'll be able to just click right on here, and that will take you right to your sign-on screen. So this does not have the same seamless connection in that you will have to put in your credentials and log in to get to your account. As I mentioned a bit earlier, our plan is between now and hopefully by year end to actually bring this editor inside of IntelliClick and make it now be our default tool of choice for HTML editing. You always have the ability to use any editors you wish to generate email, but we're trying to always find the best tools we feel work nicely to build out your templating that you need. So I'm going to go and log into our account with our BPro account. And I do want to mention that for those of you who want to even try this product, they do offer a free 15-day trial. You don't even have to put in a credit card or anything, but it does give you the ability to go and actually check out the product entirely, use it, and really see if you're happy. There is a free version of the product, but the free version does have a couple of minor little differences to it, and I'll point those out as I go along and work with it. So let me just see if I can make a couple of quick little adjustments here. Okay, I just wanted to all right, well, let's move on. So it does allow you to create various projects. This is something brand new where projects can then have a whole series of templates that you've created within a project. So if you want to create things for different departments in your company, sales, marketing, a project could be any one of the departments, and then you have a nice easy way to see all the different messaging and templates you've created within that project. And this is actually brand new. They've just introduced into the product this month. Once you're going to the projects, your projects here will show you all your templates you've created over time. You are able to put categorization against the template, and that way, if you want to filter down to very specific templates that you're working with, you can just simply use the tags you've created to zero in on specific templates that you may want to either create new ones, edit existing ones, things like that. So the first thing I think is really nice is how well you can organize and maintain your history of templates. You can sort them in various orders, created, updated, or by name. Again, this is a feature only available in the paid version. So the free version only retains the last template you create. It's cached onto your browser, so you have the ability to go back in and use the product, do what you need to do with it, but it only retains the last created template. If you create a new one, it wipes out the one that was there before. That's part of what the free version gives you that paid does not. The paid, I should say, gives you, which is the ability to store and create new versions of existing templates. So this is a very nice feature here. It's very easy to clone or create other versions of a template. So if I have something that I want to quickly make another copy of, I can just use the create copy. Of course, you can send tests, and just similar to our existing editor, you can send yourself tests and verify how it's going to render in the different devices that you might be using. Now, let me just, okay. So now basically I'm going to take the template that I have here. Let me just start by just showing you how easy it is to go back in and just look at the templates you already have, and then I'm going to build one from scratch to show you some of the nice features that it provides in building out a template. But here's one that was created. It was similar to the one you all received that spoke to this webinar, so it should look a little bit familiar to you. And you could see that as I move my mouse along, different sections and structures of the email are available to me. If I go to any one of these sections, it's very easy to move the section into other parts of the message, so I can drag and drop it and make changes to it very quickly that way. I can delete a section, I can copy a section. So it's very easy to take components of what you built and regenerate other areas similar to it, move those around and put them where they need to be. So I'm going to just drop this up at the top here, the way it was before. You'll notice that there's some very nice components. They give you very nice social media options here. And when you click into a section, over here on the right panel is where it displays the various functionality you have. So here I'm in a section for social media icons, for instance, and you can dictate what icons show up. If you need to add an icon, you can go here and say that I want to use one of the social share icons, for instance, and let's say I want to use Google Plus here. I can choose to add the Google Plus, which it's now done. I can then put the URL that points to that. So it's very simple to add various components, put the various URLs that point to that location. If something is no longer appropriate, you can just remove that piece from there. You'll see that with things like images, for instance, if I said I wanted to switch out this image, one benefit here is that this does maintain a library of all the images you upload as you create templates. And again, in this image library, you do have the ability to create folders so that you can, organize your images in some sort of a meaningful way. And then you can sort by name and by, going into these various folders. Let me just see if I have a folder here I could give you a quick look at. Well, here's, for instance, a partners folder. So if I click on partners, this will pop me right into a folder where I can go to that area of images that I've stored things on. Images can be previewed so that you can see what image it is before you're going to actually insert it. So there is let's see, a preview function that allows you to at least take a quick peek at your image and be sure that is the one you want to be using. And then it's just easy to add the image right to the placeholder that you have in your template. And you'll notice that in the template, let me just cancel out of my library here, but in the template itself, I guess it really wanted me to actually put an image in there. I decided not to, so I'm just going to pop back in and edit the same one. So the image placeholder, when you place it there, is going to optimize the size of that image. So it will place it based on the structure you're using and optimize it so that if, for instance, I preview and take a look at how this is all going to look when people receive it, the preview does give you both the ability to see it as a desktop rendered or mobile. And when I look at it on mobile, you'll see that it will not only adjust the size of the images, but place it so that the image will nicely show up as you scroll through the message itself. So this editor really does a nice job of really maintaining a very optimized look and feel to the message, whether it's being received on desktops or mobile devices. And so now I'm going to go ahead and show you how I can very quickly and easily assemble something, either using templates they offer, or in most cases I pretty much start from scratch when I create a message. So I'm going to go in and create a brand new message. Here's where you give it whatever the description. So I'm going to just call this one sample for demo. You can put tags, and this is where you can tag it to a category so that if you want it to be easily found later and pulled up, you can pull things up by category. And then they do offer a series of templates. Now, as you can see, the template library currently they offer is a much more limited number of templates. Here's an area called newsletter, and so they do have start points if you want to take advantage of ones that are already pre-created. But when I show you how simple and easy it is to really just create your own from scratch, you'll see it's almost easier to just to do it right from scratch. So I'm just going to go in and start with a brand new one. And so let me just move back to and I'm just using a blank template as my start point, and I'm going to go ahead and get it started. And when it starts off for you, it basically displays a opening page with just one single piece of structure already in play. So you could see there's one, and when I say structure, structure means these are all the different types of sections you can set up in an email. You can have it be a single column, a double column, equal size, double column with a smaller column and a larger one, typically an image and text, and that can be left or right justified. 3 columns even, 4 columns even. So depending on what you want to put, whether it's images or certain types of text, you decide what that structure will be. So this first one is a full column, and I can now, if I want to go ahead and use that, simply tell it what type of content I want to put into that structure. That can be text, image, it can be a button, and it has a very nice way to generate buttons that are not actual images, and that way they will show up in render even if people have image suppression turned on. Of course, I can add a section for social, and it does allow me to add my own HTML. So sometimes there are widgets and things you can get on the internet. Like an example is a countdown timer. Sometimes you may have seen me add, for instance, where there's still time left on a promotion or something, a little countdown timer that automatically is showing you how much time is left. That's a little widget that can be dropped in as HTML code, and those are readily available in different places on the internet. So I'm going to go ahead here, and I'm going to just drop right into here an image placeholder, and I'm going to browse to put my IntelliClick logo in here. So I'm going to go to my image library. And again, you'll notice here you have the ability to upload or import images. So if the images that you want to use aren't yet in the library, you can upload it right from your computer. You can import it from places that are already out on the web. You can also search for free photos. So they do give the ability to go into an area where you can search out and pull these royalty-free images that you can then pull in and use for different purposes. So that is another image option that you can put into your library. I'm just going to go ahead here, sort by name, and just go down and grab my IntelliClick logo. So let me just do that. And so I'm just going to go ahead here and choose the IntelliClick logo, and it drops my logo into play here. If you want to make your email look a little bit more interesting, you can go over here to where you control some of the body elements. It starts with a 500 pixel width, but if you want your email to be a little bit wider, you can increase that width, and typically certain of your elements will display a little bit larger if it's a larger area that you're setting for the email. I'll often go to 600 pixel width. I can have my background color very quickly change. So let's say I want to go to a gray background, but I want my content area, instead of transparent, to be white. Now that's making a standard setup for the entire message by doing it here. I can still alter things later in the various sections, but this is kind of setting the standard for what my core look will be. If I want my hyperlinks to have a particular color and I don't want it to necessarily be blue, I may want to use a different color for hyperlinks. I could pick that, and if I do set up hyperlinks inside the email, it'll automatically color them that way. Now, when I go to add other structure, So I'm often including some type of text and image. So I'm going to go ahead right here and do so, but I might decide here I do still want a headline of some kind. So I can still go back here, drop in my text right here. I can go in and choose what type of a font I might want to use. So they kind of have a global font that it is pretty common to most browsers, so you can certainly leave it on the default global font, or you could decide if you want to go and use some of the other available fonts. And we'll just call this my heading. I'm going to make sure it is centered. I'm going to bump it up to a larger size. So let's move it up to about 16. I might even go to 18 pixels, bold it, and if I choose to, I can of course set some type of a color to it as well. So now that I have that in play, I can now go ahead and drop in the text component here, and I know I'm going to want to stick an image right over here. So that just simply allows me to place my placeholders. I can now go in and grab an image here. So I'm going to go back to my library. And the nice thing is once these images are there, you can reuse them for any and all of the templates you choose to. I'm going to just pick this little one right here that I'm going to drop in. And so I now am able to go and add further content to this here. And once you create sort of your content with all the selections you want, so again, I'm going to go ahead and use the same font for this area. I'll bump it up a little bit more. I'll keep it justified. If I want to then create other content, then it's really simple to just simply duplicate it and then place it wherever I want to put it as I build out my sections. This one just dropped the content, but actually over here what I might want to do in this area is rather than using text, I'm going to just take out this little piece of content and I'm going to put a little button over here. So I'm going to drag my button to be right under this picture, and now I have a nice little button that I can very quickly set a couple of different parameters on. Of course, I can set my URL. And I can change the color. So if my button, if I would prefer to go with something in a different sort of look and feel, I can change out my color and set the button. Go in and edit what the button says here. Decide whether I want this to stand out a little bit more, set it in bold. But you'll notice that on the button, I have the ability to also make other adjustments in terms of how it's laid out. So the nice thing about this is that in any of these areas, if I want to alter spacing, I can, for instance, adjust padding where it may have already defaulted to some padding that I might want to remove or add. So here I want this to be a little closer to the pencil. I can just make the top be 5 pixels instead of 10. I can reduce the bottom as well so that if I'm going to insert another section below, I can space that. But you'll notice this is a 2-column, so I have the ability to adjust each of my columns here. So if I'm on this column, the left or column 1, and I want to move my text starting a little further down, I can just add to it there. And then if I want to move it even further than the most it gives me, I can go in here and further move it down by adding more spacing here. So it really makes it easy for you to position different things and set the various spacings on them. Again, if I want to add further structure, so if I want to go back to a single column to put in more text, I can now do so. I can go ahead and copy this text, and now if I take this text and I move it down to this area, it is text that would go across the entire column. So you can see as I'm walking through this, I'm building out my various components. It's automatically keeping the background color, but if at any time I wanted to, for instance, have a particular section have slightly different behavior in this section, for instance, I can tell it that I want the content background, for instance, to be transparent, and that would now show through with the background color of my email. So even within these sections, I can turn on or off, or if to me the background color here would be better in black, I can do that and then have a section that stands out with a different color here. Set my font color, in this case, to be white so that it stands off on the black. And now I have a section within that would have a different look and feel to it. And so again, a lot of different controls between the structure control, which gives you some things you can do for the overall structure that you're working with, and then within the actual item you're working with, further controls on things like the text color, the link color, the padding, the height of the line in terms of verbiage. So if I'm typing wording, and I want this to be a little bit more spaced out, I can set this to have greater spacing in there as well. All of this I can continually check and see how it's going to optimize through the preview window. So I'm able to see all of this, first in a desktop look and then in a mobile optimized look. And so in this case, probably my image would, it certainly works right here. You'll notice the button, everything is nicely lined up inside the message. And it's going to work on a mobile or, I do not want to leave the page, sorry. I wanted to continue on, so let me just go back to my editor here, and I can continue to finish up the email. Once I'm all done, or at any point, I can just save what I've done, and it now becomes available to me for further editing at any point. So it's now going to just add this as my, completed email. If I feel I'm ready and I want to now use it for my email campaign, actually what I'd like to do is add a couple of hyperlinks first. Let me go back and make sure at least I have 1 or 2 hyperlinks in here so that we can show you how the whole coding is going to work. So let's make this be up here. This one's going to be more of a little bit of a subject line here. Maybe I want to bump this up a little bit bigger to this. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and add at least 1 hyperlink right here. When I go to insert my hyperlink, it gives me the ability, of course, to set, let me make sure that I'm doing it to the wording that I want. You'll notice that when I go to set the hyperlink, it's telling me the text it's going to do it is onto the click here verbiage. And I'll just go to my website here. You can decide whether you do or don't want it underlined. I often will uncheck the underline. I just find it looks a little bit nicer. The default is to target to a new window, and the title here is really kind of an alternate text so that when they hover over the link, it's what they see. So we'll just say link to our website. So it gives them an idea as to what this link is going to do and where it's going to go. So I've gone ahead. Now that defaulted to the color of the link here that I had asked it to. If for any reason I want to change that, I should be able to just go in here and let's say I want to use a blue, or if I wanted to, be black, whatever color you'd like your links to look like, and you can vary that in different parts of your message. With our express tracking, we'll take care of handling the footer, as you know, where we'll put in some of the key things such as your corporate information, automatically set up an unsubscribe link and things like that. But all you need to do here is add your hyperlinks. If I have a button here, I think if I go to my button, I've already put a hyperlink right here. So you just simply set those up. Now, one thing is if you want any advanced links, things like a one-click call to action link, a lit fulfill link, an email alert link, those should be added here at the time you create the template. So you can at any point, if you want to add special behavior, go into your campaign tracking. I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to create an advanced link. I'm going to do my Be Free email editor demo as the link name for the campaign, and I might decide that I want to also offer up a quick little action request link. So I'm going to go into this as an example, create the link. I'm going to say I want this to remind, let's see here, we'll just have this go to Pam as a next action. We want to enable an alarm in Goldmine, and in this case it might be let's say it's an information request action. I'm going to go ahead and create the link, generate it, and I'm going to go back and create a different type of a button. So I'm going to just pop in another piece of structure. Let me just get that down here. There we go. So I'm going to add some other structure here, and for my content, I'm going to have it be a button. I can certainly stay consistent with the colors of my button, or they can be different. And here, request. And over here in my URL, I'm going to paste in the link that I just created a moment ago from my wizard. So this is an advanced link. And so since I want to basically code the email but have some specialized behaviors, you would put in any of your advanced links here. You can, of course, create all your links through advanced. That is an option. But for some of you who like the idea of saying, I want to take care of all that coding through the Express and only insert any special behavior here, then you can use the combination of the two. So this has a combination of an express or an advanced link to send a quick scheduled next action to Pam and Goldmine to get back to them with information. But the rest of it is all coded, so all the rest of my hyperlinks are going to be coded through express tracking. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to save it and I'm going to export it. And so the next difference I'm going to show you between the free version of the product and the paid version is what you're able to do when you output the creation of the email. So when I choose to export, I'm given one of two options: download a zip file. In that case, what it will do is it will take all my images and my HTML and create a zip file of the two of them. And in the past, this was the only option that this tool offered, which meant you had to upload and host your own images. Clearly, a lot of work, and for people who don't have easy access to putting images up on the web, that was not going to be a workable solution. And so that's why we held off showing this tool until they made the images able to be kept online. So when you choose Keep Images Online, those images that you've saved and uploaded get put into a viewable location to the outside world. It's going to be saved there, and it will now only download just the HTML file with all the links, all the references to everything ready for use. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to export, and I'm going to save this file, and I'm going to go over here and just save it into my demo directory. And I'm just going to give this a name of demo template. We'll just call it a demo template. And so now that has just taken everything and downloaded it into my area of ready for me to go ahead and now use that file. So there's my HTML file that has been downloaded, but I now want to put coding on it. So in our latest version, I'm going to go back now to the main menu. We give you a couple of different things you're able to do. One of them is to toggle between what you're used to using. So I've purposely left mine in the mode of what you're typically using when you do Express tracking. I'm going to start my campaign and use Express, go over to the Be Free Editor demo, and this is what many of you currently today have, is the ability to copy and paste. But because of this whole issue with rendering, we don't want to take that code and put it into Goldmine or take it out anywhere. We simply want to code it and use it exactly as it's been built. So we're going to use the toggle button to say use HTML file. You see, we've given you the ability to toggle between using code and using a file. We can also make it, and you can make it so that it defaults to one or the other. So because I do everything using an HTML file, mine comes up defaulted to using an HTML file. I'm now going to browse to the folder, and I'm going to pick the template that I now want coded. So I just simply point to it and I choose prepare. And what that just did in a matter of seconds is it created another version. The file name _IC has now been placed in that folder, and as you can see, there it is here. So this is the coded version of the file. So we don't touch the, we take the original file, we read the HTML, we code it, and we save it with a name _IC. That's the one you're going to want to use to send your campaign. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. So at this point, it's ready to go. I've already got my links ready. I'm going to now go into my IntelliSend module, go to do the mailing, and I'm going to point out a couple of things you may have not realized you could do with IntelliSend. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to still load my records from IntelliClick, my database I should say. I have the option to check for my hard bounce information to be sure everything gets flagged through the API call to smtp.com. I'm going to bypass that for now. I choose my target audience of who I'm sending this to. But now this next step, we're going to use the file method. So rather than using a Goldmine template, I use a file as the basis to get my template. I can then browse to the folder, and I'm going to highlight the HTML file that's been created _IC. That's the one that is coded. I'm going to give it a subject line. Everything else you're used to doing does not change. I'm going to give it the campaign name to associate the send with. I can still choose primary and additional. I can still choose my send method as to who it's coming from. And now I can go in and preview the message. So let's go ahead and we'll take a quick look at this message. Previewed. So here is my message. You notice my subject, my line, I should say my footer line with my unsubscribe, and all the coding that's needed has already been put in the footer. Everything is here. It is actually able to be tested right from here. But just to show you what I mean by mobile optimization, if I was to squeeze this down, you'll notice how it's showing me what it's going to do when it's seen on a smaller footprint or device. So here I'm squeezing it down to make it be more like on a cell phone, for instance. And if I were to have put the HTML inside of Goldmine, the look of it would be identical, except when you squeeze it, you would see that it does not alter and adjust for mobile optimization. We don't know yet why that is the case and how that code is altered when it's moved into the way Goldmine reads and handles HTML, but having known that that is the issue, we've made sure that we built everything so that you can work with the file directly as you see it here. Of course, if ever you decide you want to change your template, it's just a matter of going back to the editor, altering it, downloading it, and then recoding it on a single click. So it's fairly quick and simple to generate and code your message ready for sending, preview it, make sure it tests out exactly the way you normally would, but now you have your message ready to go and fairly quickly and easily rendered. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and see if we have some questions along the way here that we can be answering. And so let's see here. Can you link from your own site? Do they need? So images do not need to. What happens is you can import images so that they are referenced somewhere else, but ultimately the image still has to be in the image library, but it can be imported from other places. It does not necessarily have to be from your hard drive. And so that's one of the questions we had. If there are other questions you have along the way here, feel free to post them. I will mention that the BeFree product, until we bring it in and incorporate it as a programmed element to our product, is something you would purchase on a monthly basis with them. It is $10 US per month for that subscription to give you the pro version. There is the free version if you have the appetite to manage the images and do things yourselves, in which case you can use the free version. It has all that same functionality I've shown you, but it will not save and give you a library. It will keep a library of images, but it won't keep a library of templates you've created in the past that you can readily go back to, either create new versions of and so forth, and have them available. So the 15-day trial they offer is definitely worth taking up, so you can get the full experience with the product and have a chance to build them and really see if you like it before you make that decision as well. So something to keep in mind. Let's see, I think we have some additional questions. So can you have multiple senders? So on that, basically, yes. All you would do in the auto template, we have a customer out there who uses auto template. So let me just go back over here to our sender, and I'm going to switch to auto template. And in the auto template here, what you can do is, for the template, you can switch to using a file. So just like you currently pick your templates from Goldmine, you can also browse and pick the file. So I can set up each of my senders to be using, with whatever the subject line. So basically it behaves the same as using a Goldmine template. Here I can still browse. I can use, I should change that. I didn't want a Goldmine template. I wanted a file template. And again, it could be the same or different. So you can create the same or different ones that you're using for a multi-batch send, which is a big advantage with our auto template feature. And then, of course, it has now been set up in those batches so that I can use those 1 or 2 or 3 territories to execute, still using the template file. So everything else I'm doing here is the same as if I'm just using a single sender. No different there. But good question. So it does apply to auto template as well as to a single file send. Let's see if we have some other questions along the way. How do you know the correct size to squeeze the preview in order to simulate mobile view? Well, really, to simulate the mobile view, you really want to do a few things. Preview it in here. So again, if I'm in my template here, your best way to really see the mobile view, I'm sorry, is not export. I wanted to edit the message. So I can go in here and I can send myself test messages right from here. So if you want to quickly see how this will all play out, you can quickly send yourself test messages right from inside the editor. You don't even have to take it all the way down to your machine to really check things out. I can do a send test, and then I can send to one or multiple emails. And that way, if let's say you want to quickly send one, receive it on your phone, receive it on your mobile device, you have lots of places you can send this and check it out this way. If you want to further just check it again, you can, in the preview window of IntelliSend, squeeze that window, and really it's just, I can't tell you the exact sizing, but typically phones are going to be the narrowest, tablets are going to be a little bit wider, and so you could certainly the key was to show you that it does in fact mobile optimize as you're working with it. Now, just to give you a little sneak peek in the background as to how much intelligence and coding goes into these templates, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to open this with Microsoft Expression Web just to show you some of the logic that's in the coding of this, automatically done by the BeFree editor. So, and you can always go in and do some adjustments if you really want to with Expression Web. But again, I would caution you that there is so much intelligence and logic in their code that you really want to be careful what you alter, take out, put in, and things like that. But if I show you some of these ifs, so there's a lot of different ifs on even the type of email client reading the email. They have things that deal with different versions of Outlook. It determines whether it's being read by a desktop versus a phone versus a tablet. So you'll notice that as I look down this code, and maybe if I just reveal code only, there's an extreme amount of behind-the-scenes coding automatically being done for you inside this template being built by the tool. So a lot of intelligence, and it's this code that when we port it into Goldmine, it will show up, it will look perfect inside, or it will display correctly, but it won't optimize for mobile. When you send it to people, it will not adjust. So for some reason, there's certain things about the way Goldmine is handling the HTML that's not allowing it to retain that mobile optimization, which is why we've made sure to build our ability to just point to the file and code it without having to get in here and actually touch the HTML code if you don't really need to. If I had to make a quick little change to a wording, things like that, I can still come in here and do it right inside an editor, Dreamweaver, Expression Web, which we give you a download. If those of you don't realize, in our HTML editor, we do give you the ability to download the Expression Web tool, the one I've just opened, that's free from Microsoft, an extremely nice HTML editor if you do need to go in and make slight changes, tweaks, or even just look at your template through an editor other than through Goldmine. Good option there. Let's see what other questions we have this morning. Do you need to edit the code in the template to reference the new hosting URL? So no, you do not. If you are using their product and you say use the images online, it takes care of doing all that for you. So as an example here, if I look at this picture, this image, and I go to the picture properties, you could see it already has the pointer to that picture already been set to point to the location that file is being retained for me and hosted for me by the Be-Free editor itself. So you do not need to worry about rehosting anything if you've already uploaded it into the editor. Let's see, we do have another question. Let me just get to some other questions we have. Okay, we have a question. If you wanted to personalize an email by bringing the first name of a contact. Okay, so yes, you can still do exactly what you're used to doing. Let me go back to the editor, again, right back to the place where I'm building this. Question is, can you use the Goldmine merge tags? Yes, nothing like that changes. When we build the integrated version for IntelliClick, we will give you the ability in there to insert Goldmine merge tags, just like you have the ability to do within Goldmine's own editing capability. But for now, you can copy or simply use a merge tag. So if I do 2 carets, 2 less than signs, ampersand, company, for instance, which is one of Goldmine's merge tags, that's all you would do to have the company name show up in your template when it merges. So all the merge codes, the merge tags, if I want to insert a custom field in Goldmine, I can just simply do contact 2 and udef user, let's say user def 01, and that would insert whatever is in the user def 01 field in Goldmine. So all the merge tags you're used to using still work, but in this editor, there's no drop down to pick those merge tags. You do need to either get them from Goldmine and copy and paste them here, or if you know the tags already, drop them in. And so all that works no differently. Really, all this tool is doing is just building the HTML, really not much differently than what you're used to doing in our existing editor, except the key is this degree of mobile optimization. That's the real purpose and point of this, is that these will be mobile optimized for no matter what you build. There's really very little choice in the existing editor that we have on mobile optimization. It has some. There are ones that are there that have it, but we're finding this editor, from an ease of use and optimization and many of the other attributes of it, one that we think, for many of you who are frustrated or need something easier to use, we think this is a good solution. And we are intending to eventually migrate to this between now and hopefully end of year, so that it is the integrated one that you will use right from inside the IntelliClick wizard. Let's see if we have any more questions. I think that answers most of them. So this session has been recorded, but if there are questions that you all have, feel free to shoot some questions to our support email. Hopefully many of you know now that we have the ability for you to open support incidences. In the latest version of the wizard, you'll notice there's an open support request button. So right from here inside the wizard, you can do this. You can also do this from the home page from IntelliClick software, where you can open a support request. It will prompt you for some basic information, and then let me just come on, finish opening the page. Never cooperates when you want it to. I'll just pop it in over here. Not sure why, but let's go ahead and open it in Microsoft Edge. That's interesting. So it's not happy opening it in an iframe. Well, we'll have to look into that. But typically what would happen is it should be opening up and providing you a place to input your information, and then from there go on to indicate, upload any files, indicate what the issue is you're having, and that gives us a complete picture of what we need to effectively respond back to you or make a connection to you if we need to provide support. So there is more that this will display, trust me, and we'll make sure to check into that right after this session. So I don't believe I'm seeing any other questions, so I do hope this has been helpful input for you. If you decide to go ahead and get something with BeFree, you can simply go to their website. It's just befree.io. So this is something you subscribe directly on a credit card with them. This is nothing you have to coordinate through us to get your account set up. It does allow you to get the information you need. Be Pro is the one where all the things I showed you today are possible, and you can open an account here. Initially, you can do a give it a try and get a 15-day free trial, and then decide if you keep it going, ongoing, and which time they will take a credit card. And it's a $10 monthly subscription. No limit on how many people, how many users in your company can jump on and use the editor at any time. So, and it is accessible on the web, as our current one is as well. So again, I thank everybody